The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone and welcome to this month's Psych Central webinar series. We have a great presenter this week, but before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping items. At the end of the webinar, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions. You're welcome to type these questions in while the webinar is going on. The presenter will not be able to see them. At the end of her presentation, I will moderate the questions by asking her and she will answer them. Please feel free to ask anything that you would like. Our presenter this month is not shy and she's very interested in sharing. And with that, I would like to turn this over to Michelle Hammer to discuss, well, her life with schizophrenia. Michelle?
Hi, Gabe. How are you? Hi, everybody. I'm so glad you're here listening to my webinar. And here we go. Let's see what it is. Are you paranoid? Because I am. Lessons from a Schizophrenic with Michelle Hammer on Psych Central's webinar. So let's see how this goes today. Hope it goes well, because I'm a little bit paranoid right now. Who is Michelle? Let's see, who am I? Hello, I am Michelle Hammer, the schizophrenic founder of Schizophrenic NYC mental health clothing line. I live in New York City, where 1 in 5 New Yorkers have a mental health issue. So I'm currently striving to make a change about stigma in New York City, but we'll go into all of that closer to the end of the webinar. Let's talk about like a lot of schizophrenia, other stuff first. The short story. So basically, I've had schizophrenia symptoms since childhood. I remember them when I was thinking, I was reading more about schizophrenia, just comparing it really to my life. And I realized like I would go catatonic and delusional when I would wake up in the morning. I pretty much was totally out of it when I would wake up. I would sit at the end of my bed. I would think I was getting ready in the morning, but really I was standing still, having a complete delusion that I was getting ready when I never really was. I wasn't even moving. I was just catatonic and delusional. And then around middle school time, I kind of first started just zoning out and being delusional. I remember going to just being in class and I'm just like, you know, I'm just going to start thinking in my head, but my head would get louder and be like a whole daydream of hallucination, delusionalness would go on in front of me. And then, you know, next thing I know, class is over. I wasn't listening. I was in a whole weird delusional zone out daydream the entire time. And I don't know what the teacher said. So I would say we'll move on from that, get to high school. That's when like paranoia got really, really hard and not really bad to deal with. Paranoia was just really bad. We'll talk more about paranoia. So, and then while having all these symptoms, I really only waited till my freshman year in college when I was 18 to when I first reached out for help. Short story here. That was just a short story. Moving on. So let's talk about what is the definition of schizophrenia and what is it defined as. So pretty much schizophrenia, it's a chronic brain disorder that affects about 1% of the population. When the illness is active, it can be characterized by episodes in which the person is unable to distinguish between what is real and unreal. The severity, duration, and frequency of symptoms can vary. So basically, you could just start thinking of anything and think it's real. Think of nothing, think of anything. Frequency, who knows? Delusional, hallucinate, paranoia. You don't know it's real, you don't know it's fake. Let's talk about it. Positive symptoms. Is it positive though? No. This is when you have hallucinations like hearing voices, paranoid delusions, exaggerated or distorted perceptions, beliefs, and behaviors. Here's some examples. You might hear your name being called. I think I'm hearing my name being called all the time. Nobody's calling my name. No. You might have a vivid daydream where you start speaking the words out loud. That's kind of like a delusion. I do that on the subway sometimes. I'll just be like in my own little zone, then I'm talking out loud to the person, and then I'm like, wait, that's why I have headphones on. People think I'm singing. Haha. Sometimes you also make up stories, which can be very frustrating for the people involved in them. Just ask my mother. I make up a lot of stories. She claims they never happened. I claim they do happen. We'll argue back at it all the time. But ask her. They're probably not real, though. Let's talk about it, though. Negative symptoms. What are they? A loss or decrease in the ability to initiate plans, speak, express emotion, or find pleasure. That doesn't sound nice at all. No. So an example of this, a person might not know what does real happiness feel like. I didn't. I did not know what real happiness felt like. If you're never happy, how do you know what real happiness feels like? So often you can forget what you're going to say or your thoughts. You can become afraid. You will say nonsense. You begin to isolate yourself. Social interactions become too much to deal with. Pretty much you just you don't really know what's happening with people around you. You don't know, you're not happy. You don't want to do anything. You don't really know what to say. You're kind of confused. It's just it's not a good time. Negative, named properly, negative. Cognitive symptoms. Is anyone wondering what cognitive means? Cognitive symptoms. Confused and disordered thinking and speech. Trouble with logical thinking and sometimes bizarre behavior and abnormal movements. Problems with attention, concentration, memory, and declining educational performance. Well, that's not good. When something like this is going on, here's my example. You might have to rely on other people to let you know that what you're doing is not quite right. Because if you're not that cognitive, you might not know. Like, you can't be not cognitive about your cognitive, It's hard to concentrate in school when you're like paranoid or just constantly thinking about interactions with people. So if you're already preoccupied, therefore an educational decline is something that can happen. And I just want to let you know right now that I just had a cognitive moment where I forgot what I was already going to say about something. So it just happened to me right now. Just letting you know. I got confused. My teenage symptoms. Boom. Paranoia. So I believe newspaper headlines were telling me messages. I really did. If newspapers would be sprawled out on the stairs where they were going to get thrown away, I thought there was a pattern to them, and I thought they were saying something to me. Yeah, I don't know why. I just did. Well, I'm probably because I'm schizophrenic. That would make sense. So here's another one. Anytime I heard whispering or laughing, I thought it was people whispering bad things and laughing at me. The thing is, when you're in high school, you don't really want the teacher to hear you talking. So there's a lot of whispering and stuff like that. But of course, being a paranoid schizophrenic girl, you're thinking all those whispers are about you when they're saying bad things about you. Not a fun time. Didn't like it. Next one. Voices in my head convinced me that the majority of my peers thought I was stupid, weird, ugly, dumb, and an idiot. So basically, pretty much, when you're going through life and you hear a voice in your head telling you that everyone thinks you're an idiot and you're stupid, you're not going to be a very happy person, and you're kind of going to be miserable. You're going to be really insecure, and you're not going to be loving it. So, yeah, paranoia is like really, really not fun. Not a good time. Refusing help because of paranoia. Not believing the people trying to help. When you're paranoid, hello. So, I wrote a big long paragraph. Let me just read it. Because of my lack of motivation in high school and seemingly depressed mood, my mother tried to get me help through social workers, therapists, psychologists, and psychiatrists. Yes, that's a lot of people. I fought her and would not speak to any of these professionals because I truly believed they were trying to hurt me. I didn't want anyone who wasn't me knowing my personal information. But my mom went into a first-time I think I messed up there. We went into a first-time therapy appointment with me, and she kind of told the therapist what's been going on, and she thought it went all great, but I was so mad because she had told this woman all of my secrets. It's like, we went to a therapist and she talked to the therapist about me. And instead of like me thinking that's what you do, I was like, she told the therapist all of my secrets. That's not okay. That's not good. You can't tell my secrets. That's my life. Like, that's what I thought. So I was like in a really bad mood about it. And I really blamed her. And I was really mad when now I see how that's like completely illogical. But that's what I thought at the time. So you don't really believe the people who are trying to help you. But hey. Whatever. How did I realize something wasn't right? So how did I go from the paranoia making me think that everybody hated me and that everyone that was trying to help me was trying to hurt me? But how did I realize it? Let's think. I realized I was paranoid. But how? Let's find out. My freshman year of college, at age 18, I realized it was me who was the problem. All of the paranoia I had about my mom, I started thinking about my roommate slash best friend. I have many best friends, but just this one. I started thinking she was plotting and she was scheming behind my back in order to try and kill me. So then I just knew. I knew because I knew that she was definitely not trying to kill me. So the way I had felt about my mother during my teenage years in high school was how I was now thinking about my roommate. I thought it was the same thought pattern. And I realized, oh my goodness, these thoughts don't make any sense. Why would I start thinking this way about my roommate? That's illogical. It makes no sense. Why would my roommate be trying to sabotage my life and try to do things to me and try to hurt me and try to kill me? Like, this just makes no sense. Why would I do that? And it just hit me. Oh my God, it's the same exact thought pattern. The problem is me. I was the problem. It is me. So I made an appointment with the college counseling center as soon as possible. I was misdiagnosed with bipolar disorder like almost instantly because I didn't tell the doctor about the voices in my head because I didn't like understand the relevance at the time. I didn't know that like other people that other people didn't hear the voices like I heard the voices. I didn't really understand what paranoia was and that I had it so bad. I didn't understand really what was going on. When he was talking to me, it was very much like a checklist of answers, and I just wanted help. I started saying yes to questions just so I could get help because I thought if I said no, he would say that I'm fine, but I knew something wasn't right. I just was saying yes, so he's just kind of diagnosed me with bipolar disorder based on nonsense. And, a checklist really isn't the best way to have a therapy session, too. So I was immediately prescribed medication for bipolar disorder by the school psychiatrist later that week. Boom. Things went great, right? No. So the thing is, I was prescribed the medication, but I wouldn't say the doctor was the best psychiatrist there was, because the second week I went there, she said, "Are you on medication?" I said, "You prescribed me medication last week." And she said, "Oh, I wrote you a script?" And I said, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, okay." But still, I didn't know what normal happiness felt like. And I was on medication for bipolar disorder, which I did not have. So I went from a very kind of, wacky doodle running around, kind of happy, not real happy, but just kind of a really uppity, lots of energy, kind of just yelling and stuff like that, kind of all over the place person. And I just went to bleh, like I didn't know what happy was supposed to feel like. I've never felt real happiness. And whenever I thought I was happy, people told me I was out of control. So I took this medication. I wasn't acting out of control. I thought take medication, act like this. Nobody's telling me I'm out of control. I must be better. But no, I didn't know that the medication was actually making me really depressed. So things didn't go so well. And I ended up in the psych ward for a suicide attempt. And then when I got back to my room, I took all the medication and I flushed it down the toilet, which probably isn't the best way to get rid of medication, but that's just what I felt was the best thing to do at the time. Okay, let me tell you some more. What else happened? So after that, I said I was never taking medication ever again. Never, never, never. That medication was terrible. Well, let's see how well that worked out because I went back to the psychiatric hospital, the psych ward, 2 months later for another suicide attempt. Not a fun time being there, but I still was on no medication. They didn't put me on anything. I wasn't put on anything after, still whatever. And then still was on no medication. So 6 months later, I went again for suicidal tendencies. Basically, I told somebody a member, like a staff at my college, that I was feeling suicidal. I said that. Okay, I guess I understand why they sent me to the hospital, but whatever. I guess I needed it at the time. I was just a little angry, a little bitter. I'm not bitter anymore. It's okay. We can move on. Okay. Medication. What's hard with schizophrenia is accepting you need medication. I finally accepted I needed medication because I couldn't live like I was living anymore. It was just so difficult to to just function. So I was so paranoid, and the paranoia just for some reason I decided just let me get rid of it. So I kind of said some of this. I'm just going to read it anyway. It's difficult to accept medication when you're paranoid. After trying and failing from the first medications I was given, I especially was against medication. But it was too hard. I knew that other people didn't experience life the way I did. The mental anguish turned into a physical pain, like physical pain. So at age 19, I found a simple medication used for depression that just subdued me. It made my thoughts quiet. Sometimes I would play a game, like this game. I would take my medicine, I would wait for it to kick in, and then I would start thinking one of the thoughts that would just always plague me, like a thought that would go around in my head and make me so nuts. But I would take my medication, I'd wait for it to kick in, think of that thought, and be like, oh my God, I don't care about it. Oh my God, this is so funny. Oh, I'm thinking about it and I don't care. Oh, I love this medicine. It's so great. I'm thinking all about all these thoughts and I don't care. What a great thing of medicine. So, I mean, I love not caring and dwelling on the little nonsense things that the paranoia plagued me with. My head was quiet, no voices. I felt like I can finally do this. Oh my God, I was loving life. Actually, like I took a nap. Like I had never taken like a nap really. Like I took a nap. I think I read some. It was like amazing. What do I have up here next? Okay, that's accepting you have schizophrenia. But I just want to say, accepting you need medication is difficult. That medication I had to take 3 times a day. 3 times a day is hard to remember, especially if you're schizophrenic and you try to tell yourself you don't need your medication. So pretty much I had like friends helping me. My lacrosse coach helped me. She kind of said I can always tell within 3 seconds if you've taken your medication or not. And it was just really at one point where I just said, I know I need it. I'm going to take it and I'm just going to do it. And I did it. So let's talk about accepting you have schizophrenia. Welcome to the club. Do you have schizophrenia? What's up? Hey, how you doing? So you were told you have schizophrenia. How do you feel? Are you upset? Are you angry? Are you numb? Are you something else that I didn't write down? Let me know. Ask me a question. So I was upset when I was told I had schizophrenia at age 22. But soon after I was diagnosed, I saw my roommates from college for dinner. And the conversation went as follows. Story, oh no, we got to go backwards. Oh no. Oh God. Oh no, Gabe, what am I going to do? Oh, you go with the arrows? Oh, here it is. Okay, got it. So this conversation went as follows. I said to them, so guys, I found out I'm schizophrenic. Kate said to me, what? I thought that's what you had the whole time. Hassan said to me, that could have not been more obvious. Wendy said to me, yeah, Mish, we told you that. So basically, even though I was told I was bipolar and I told all my college roommates I was bipolar, they already knew that I was schizophrenic. I lived with them for 4 years. Well, Hassan really only for a semester, but even he said that couldn't have been more obvious. But I mean, like, everyone kind of knew. But I have another story. Story 2. Telling Noelle, hey, I said, so I found that I have schizophrenia. Noelle said, yeah. And I was like, you could tell? Yeah, Mish. Yeah. Okay. All right. This was like, okay, fine. Another person knew? Another friend? Okay, I got one more story. Lacrosse teammate. Me. So I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Lauren. Well, yeah. How did you not know that? You knew? I could have told you that 3 years ago. Really? Like, really? 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 All of my friends already knew. Boom! Real friends love you no matter what. So if you get diagnosed with schizophrenia, It doesn't even matter about friends, anything like that. Your real friends will love you no matter what. All of my real friends already knew I had schizophrenia before I knew I had schizophrenia, and they did not care. There you go. There you go. There you go. That's what I'm saying. Real friends love you no matter what. Recovery from schizophrenia. So, getting diagnosed with schizophrenia was the best thing that ever happened to me. So, it can be a tough pill to swallow. That's a pun. And I even wrote that it's a pun because I'm corny. So, but however, getting the diagnosis changed my life. So, I was now going to be treated for the correct illness. So I got a new doctor. I moved back home after college. I was not on any, I went off that medication that I was on because that doctor was up at college. And then I went off medication. It was just all over the place. It did not go well. I was up, I was down, I was all in a big mess. I was living in my head. I mean, like, and I was actually like, you know, that was when I was not diagnosed, but getting diagnosed, found a doctor that actually realized I was more honest with the doctor, kind of saying, well, why did you try to kill yourself? Well, the voice in my head kind of like told me to do it. And so I was like, okay, well, you're kind of schizophrenic. But okay, I'm kind of just babbling now. But what I'm trying to say is I'm glad I got diagnosed with the correct illness. But then I had to go through a trial and error for many of the medications until I found a combination that works. It's not the easiest thing to find the combination that works. You just have to work on it, and it'll go good. So I take a lot of meds, and I'm totally okay with that. I understand that I will probably be on medication the rest of my life. It's a little annoying, but I get it. I understand that I need it. I accept that. I'm not angry about it. I mean, I think there's worse things in the world. So I'm okay. So I listed what I take. I take an antipsychotic, but then I take something for the side effect of the antipsychotic. I take an antidepressant, and then I take something for side effects of the antidepressant. And then I take a pill for ADHD that gives me motivation in life. And then I take a long acting, I don't even know how to say that. I just call them benzos, benzo to prevent anxiety. And then I also take a quick acting benzo to reduce anxiety. That's everything I take. So I have to take all that to function in my day. And I understand that's what I have to take to function in my day. I tried maybe go less. The day didn't go well. If I miss my medications one day, I might be okay. 2 days, I'm not getting out of bed. That's pretty much how it is. It's not a good time. Actually, if you are interested, why don't you ask your fun little the moderator Gabe Howard what happened when I missed my medication and spoke with him on the phone. He was worried. He was worried, man. Recovery. I've never felt better in my life. I kind of said this already, but being diagnosed with schizophrenia and having to take 7 medications daily might make some people think I live an unfortunate life. Wrong. I've never felt better in my whole life. Even with medication, I still experience schizophrenia symptoms, but they are managed well, and I'm extremely happy. I do experience schizophrenia symptoms, even though I do take all that medication. You might think, what, you take all that medication and you're still not fixed? No, don't say fixed anyway, but it's I can still kind of talk to myself sometimes. I still sometimes get a little delusional. What I definitely don't get is paranoid. Paranoid is the worst. So I don't get paranoid anymore, which is something that's amazing. I don't rapidly hear thoughts going around in my head. I'm not dwelling on little things. I'm not seeing hallucinations in front of what I'm trying to see. I can function. My head is clear. My head isn't like going racing around a million miles per hour with thoughts and things. And I can focus on life and not what's happening in my head. My head, it's like silence. It's like I went from chaos to silence, That's what I'm trying to say. A chance encounter. This is lovely. Schizophrenia in New York City. So, the first roommate that I had in New York City was awesome. I eventually told them that I had schizophrenia and I decided I wasn't really going to try to hide the symptoms from him. So the symptoms showed where, I don't know if that's right, where mostly me talking to myself in a certain manneristic way. So I had this way of talking to myself. I would like look up, I would kind of reach my arms out and stuff. So one day I was on an almost empty subway F train. That's right, heading into Queens. I was on the F train. Yeah. And I looked down the subway car and I see this homeless man. And I noticed that he was talking to himself, almost absolutely replicating the same manneristic way that I do it. And I thought, like, I'm looking at this homeless man talking to himself, and he looks just like me when I talk to myself. And I just thought, like, what's the difference between me and this homeless guy? We both have schizophrenia. We both have it, but what's the difference between us? So what's the difference between us? And at that moment, I realized that I'm an extremely lucky schizophrenic girl. Why? Why do you think I think I'm lucky? Because I have support. I have support. I have a family. I have friends. I have a doctor. And if I didn't have my support, I could so easily be in his position. There are so many homeless people with schizophrenia because they don't have support. If I didn't have my support system, I'd be a bum on the subway talking to myself, or worse, dead. I don't even know. So, 1 in 5 New Yorkers have a mental health issue. Something just has to change. I knew I wanted to make a difference in the city that I love. I created a mental health clothing line called Schizophrenic NYC. That's my Schizophrenic NYC website. And what is it? Created, founded, and designed by me, Michelle Hammer, schizophrenic New Yorker, wants to make a difference in the way that mentally ill homeless are treated in New York City, as well as change the way New Yorkers feel about mental illness. With every purchase, a portion of our profits get donated to organizations around NYC that supports the struggle of the mentally ill. Together, we can make a change. Join the movement. Let me show you more. Boom. Boom. So, as you can see, the two on the left are Rorschach tests. And it's the concept behind those designs is when a person with schizophrenia looks at a basic regular Rorschach test, they're going to see it from kind of like a different perspective in a way. So I kind of like redesigned the test with different colors and patterns. So now everyone's kind of forced to look at the test from a different perspective. So kind of makes you think differently starting a discussion, because only through discussion can you really, reduce or end stigma. And then the two on the right, the shirts, one says, "Don't be paranoid, you look great." That starts up a conversation. And "It is not a delusion, you are incredible." That starts up a conversation too. Let's discuss mental health. Let's not hide from mental illness, mental health. Only through an open dialogue of mental illness can we reduce stigma. That is what I'm trying to do. That is what I'm trying to preach. I just want everyone to start talking about mental illness and mental health, because if we would just talk about it, there really wouldn't be that much stigma. When I sell my clothes, when I set up a pop-up shop and I talk about it and I tell everyone that I have schizophrenia, people usually say, either they have a mental health issue, a friend does, a family member does. We are all connected with the mental health crisis that's going on. Why is there a stigma when everyone's connected? I don't understand. I am Michelle Hammer. Thank you so much for having me. I really, really, really hope you liked my podcast. Let's have a Q&A. I had a good time. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Now, Michelle, you said, "I hope you like our podcast." What's your podcast?
Oh, my podcast. Did I say that? Podcast is A Bipolar, a Schizophrenic, and a Podcast.
Wow, that sounds excellent. I highly recommend that people tune into that. All right, as they are gathering up their questions, I will go ahead and moderate. Thank you very much for being here. We really, really appreciate it. I do own a "You're Not Paranoid, You Look Great" t-shirt. It looks funny on a 300-pound giant redhead. But yeah, I know I look great. I know.
You do look great. You do.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, the first question that we have here is, oh, excuse me. The first question that we have is, why do you feel that you were diagnosed incorrectly with the bipolar disorder, but that the schizophrenia is the correct diagnosis? Is it just that your life got better after that diagnosis? Aren't you worried that it's just guesswork at this point?
No, not at all. I just know that I knew for years that the bipolar diagnosis was incorrect. I kind of knew that I was hearing voices and stuff like that, and I knew that stuff was in my head, but I didn't want to admit it. I mean, like I said, like my college roommates, they all knew. They would say things to me, but I brushed it off. No, 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 no. They'd say things. I'd be in my room, and I get knocks on the door, and they'd be like, "Are you on the phone right now?" And I go, "No." They're like, "Who are you talking to?" I knew that I wasn't bipolar. I didn't take well to bipolar medication. I never really when I looked up the symptoms, I knew that it wasn't me. The thing is, I didn't really want to be schizophrenic. I believed in the stigma that that's a really bad diagnosis and I don't want it. But it got to the point where I realized I was hallucinating, I was delusional, and that I had experienced so much paranoia in my life that I knew something that I had to just admit it to myself, that I had needed to tell a doctor the truth, pretty much.
Excellent. Thank you so much. The next question that we have is, you mentioned that your true friends stuck around, and that's wonderful. But what advice do you have for people who do lose your friends? As it seems more common that people abandon people when they are diagnosed with mental illness than stick around.
I mean, if somebody's gonna abandon you, let them abandon you. They're not worth your time. But also, like, if you have a mental illness, I mean, how are you treating your friends at all? If you're mad at your mental illness, are you mad at life? Are you mad at your friends? I mean, you still have to love yourself. And if you love yourself, I mean, that's who you need the most. Like, just make sure you love yourself. I mean, if people don't want to talk to me, I didn't have that many friends in high school when I didn't even know I had a mental illness. Knowing that I have a mental illness and I'm open about it, I have more friends now actually than when I was quiet about it. So, I mean, I don't,
It's kind of hard, right? It's kind of like be your true self, and those who are supposed to will stay. That's great advice, of course, but sometimes it can be lonely. I think it's excellent that people stuck around. I know when I was diagnosed, I lost several friends, but you're right. The ones who stuck around were really my true friends. So
yeah.
thank you. This question is mine. You've actually answered it before. I just think it's a really good question to bring up. Do you feel that your athleticism, your participation in lacrosse helped you stay well? Talk to us a little bit about that, because you were a pretty big lacrosse player.
Right, yeah. Well, no, lacrosse definitely helped me. Lacrosse definitely saved my life. I started playing lacrosse in ninth grade. I was kind of like, very kind of timid uh, in school, but not in gym class. Like my gym teacher recruited me and said, "Do you want to play lacrosse?" And I was like, "Okay," because I was just running around like a maniac in gym. So, I mean, lacrosse was like the one fun joy I had in my life. I loved it so much, and I wanted to play in college, and that's pretty much why I even wanted to go to college, was to play in college. Like I always made friends through playing lacrosse. So, I mean, when you're paranoid, it's hard to make friends, but if you play lacrosse and you do well and you get good at the sport, people will just like you because you're good at lacrosse, like on your team. And even coming in as a freshman in college and not even being good, it was hard, but then getting better. And my lacrosse coach really helped me a lot. Like I said during the webinar, like I had to take a medication 3 times a day, and my lacrosse coach could tell if I took it within 3 seconds of talking to her. It pretty much was at so uncertain point, like she said, like, I wish that I could cut you from the team because your behavior is so bad, but you're too good. But you need to make a change. Like, take your medication. I can't take it anymore, you know? And I was, and to myself, I just was thinking, and I just like thought, you know what? I feel better when I'm on it. I'm just going to take my medication 3 times a day. And I made sure that I took it. And I always took it 1 hour before practice, the middle of the day. And that always, it just gave me a structure. And it just, lacrosse did so much for me with structuring me and making me just always have something to look forward to, something that I felt I was needed for. Becoming a captain was amazing. And it's just confidence. It just builds your confidence to be good at something and have people look up to you and have people wanting to help you when I don't know who would have helped me in that situation if I didn't have it, you know?
I think it certainly speaks more to your point of how you had support. You had support in many different arenas, not just family support or friend support, but also you were a member of, this team, etc. So all of these people were able to work together to keep you on the right path.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are my words, so just make sure you agree with them.
No, you're right. It was another support. It was my school support. My family was my home support, and at school, it was like support from my lacrosse team, like my coach, and was like, I guess, the mothery kind of a thing. That's weird to say that, but it was like, she kind of like was on, kind of on my back, like, come on,
Yeah,
step it up, step it up, stop acting like a fool, step it up.
that's wonderful. Thank you so much. The next question is, do or did you experience consistency in who or what the voices were? Were the voices
Uh,
consistent, I think is a good way to break it down.
a lot of times, I'll think of a situation, and then that situation didn't go well, and I'll just dwell on that situation, dwell on that situation, dwell on that situation. I can't get it out of my head, and then I'll start thinking of other things that had to do with that situation, and that has to do with that situation, and that does, and that does, and that does. And now I'm really kind of just making stuff up. So I'll think about something, and then finally I might get over it, and I'll be like, okay, now I'm done with that. It's not going to bother me anymore. I'm fine now. And then something else comes into my head, and that takes over my brain. So basically, it's just like a constant, like, delusion that I can't get rid of delusions on delusions of paranoia, of like I don't know if it's like a separate voice, but it's kind of like, I think it's the same voice kind of all the time, really. But I don't really, yeah, it's kind of like the same. I think it's the same one. Can't really describe it. I don't know.
Wonderful.
I don't
Well,
know. I don't know. That's a hard question.
yeah, and sometimes questions like this are difficult, of course, because you're forced to think about them for the first time. I know when I started writing about my own illness, and we've talked about this before, you really have to think about how you feel about things, and it changes. The way that I felt about being diagnosed on day one and the way I feel about my diagnosis now, 15 years later, is very different. Would you say that that's how do you feel about that? Has your experience changed your feelings on this?
Like, about my diagnosis then and my diagnosis now.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I'm way more comfortable with myself now. I feel like a lot of the reason I've done everything that I've done is because I wanted to tell everyone that I had schizophrenia. I didn't like being that person who had a secret. I didn't want to be that family secret. I didn't want to be like, oh, the schizophrenic one. Now I'm just, maybe I am that schizophrenic one, but I'm that fabulous schizophrenic one.
I like that. Michelle, that's the end of our questions. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this webinar. Psych Central appreciates all your contributions. We appreciate all your contributions. The attendees appreciate all your contributions. We just appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. And if there's do you have any last words?
Last words. Love yourself.
Thank you so much. And we will see everybody next month in the Psych Central webinar series. Thank you.
Thank you.